On today's Minute of the Apes, I'm late to the recording, so I missed valuable Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes discussions.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
What is secret of the divine bomb?
The only good human is a dead human! Where there is fire, there is smoke.
The minute of the apes. The minute of the apes. The minute of the apes. The minute of the apes.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. And I'm left wondering, when we finish these films and move on to the next, am I just going to keep extending that song and adding an audio clip for everyone? Because it might go on for 6 hours, or am I just going to pick a couple that I like? I don't know, because God, already you sit there and it's like, there's another movie. What do y'all think? Should I just cut it down eventually and maybe keep one from the original Apes, one from Conquest, and then jump ahead to the new ones? What do you think? Uh-oh. Sean, you're
muted.
You're muted.
Ah, there we go. Sorry. You will only be making them for 8 movies, not the 9th one. So if you could do one clip from each movie, that would not be too bad.
I hope not. Good God. The original thing had its own little lyrics that were all cute and fun, which Richard never heard. At some point, I may have to go find that because you never heard when I effectively wrote a true jingle for the whole thing.
No.
It's a lot easier now.
Are you going to throw? Are we still going to do one on the animated series at some point? And,
I think we should. Well, I don't. I think what we talked about.
You want that the pre-Marky Mark one or the palate cleanser Marky Mark one? How do you want to?
Boy, I think we may need the palate cleanser.
Yeah,
our palate's going to be tainted.
We'll get through this, and then we'll watch the Marky Mark, and then maybe we'll palate cleanse with the animated series.
Yes, yeah.
Or should we stay in the animated series because we're actually in this universe right now, this particular one?
I think there's nothing here. I don't think we need to watch the entire animated series personally, because I've watched a lot of it, and we agreed to do the movies. I think it would be fun to do one, and what I think what Sean and I both said at one point. This depends upon COVID and whatnot. You guys come over here to my theater, and we'll put it up there together, and we'll do a live commentary while we watch it together. It's only 30 minutes. It could be fun, and I can route that audio in so you can hear a little bit of the cartoon in the background. I think that may be a little more interesting than trying to actually break that thing down, because I'm going to tell you, it's...
How many episodes are there? I know nothing about it.
I don't know, but what's weird is when you watch it oddly brings in more, I think, and please, ape fans, come back at me, but it almost brings in a little more of the pure bull aspects of it than the films
because they can do more.
Yeah, but it's hard to follow at times. It's, man, we talked about this last minute being written for a kid. This one is like, kids that watched it were excited, I'm sure, to see apes talking, but holy crap, it was heady.
It's 13 24-minute episodes.
Wow. Yeah, it didn't really last very long, did it?
No, that would have been one
just
season.
It just made the fall season. Just aired in September of 1975 and ended November of 1975. So it was before this movie released, or after this movie released. Wow.
Well, and then if we're going to do that, then we also should have an episode where we watch one of the TV show episodes that Roddy was in that.
TV series was.
Well, technically,
am I looking at the animated or am I looking at the TV? Oh, that's the animated.
We're not covering the Planet of the Apes series. We're covering the Planet of the Apes movies by minute.
I know, but it would be fun to touch on the shows and see how much the difference between them, what they included and what we didn't know.
Okay, how about this? How about for a couple of in-betweens, we do that? So, we'll keep doing the movies. Once we get through this, we go to Marky Mark. And then when we start the movies after that, the first couple of in-betweens will be, let's talk about the TV show, let's talk about the animated series. Is that doable?
That'll work.
Yeah.
Okay, yay. It has been decided, and thus God came down.
All right.
Minute 12, Sean, tell us what's going on.
All right, we're going to start minute 12 with Cornelius learning he put a B in the place of the second P and ends with Aldo ripping up Cornelius's work.
All right, here comes minute 12, battle for the Planet of the Apes.
Baker, you have put a B in place of the second P.
Teacher, have you forgotten your own name?
Everyone has always called me teacher that I had forgotten. Ape shall never kill Abe. Thank you, Cornelius. That was a very kind thought. Gorillas? All right, Aldo, let's start with you.
General Aldo.
With respect, General Aldo, this is barely legible and will have to be written again. Your capital A leans over like a tent in a high wind. And your capital K.
Ape shall never kill Abe.
No, Aldo, no!
As of minute 12, we have a village's worth of apes and humans.
All right, so we've got at least a lot to unpack here as far as what it sets up. Cornelius gets a nice pat on the back. He's a kind and considerate person. Teacher is now called teacher so much that he's forgotten his name.
Abe, there's a name I've not heard in a long time.
And that's let's see. I live with apes. My name is Abe, which is close to it, but I forget it. We'll get to that later. That comes up at another point as well. But the more interesting thing is the reprimanding of Aldo, and we begin to see the petulant child acting out as he's embarrassed.
General Aldo.
Yes, he's called out in front of the classroom. I love that General Aldo loses his shit. He doesn't want to be made fun of, and he apparently feels stupid, and he looks back as people laugh at him. I love Aldo. Love him. But here we are. We're setting up a clash between teacher and Aldo. Is that what this movie's about right now? Or what are they trying to teach us?
He's quick. He's like almost like he's the school bully that, had a bad upbringing, and he's quick to anger, and he's not doing good in school. And, only if only that one teacher could find the spark to get him to learn. But no, he's given poor tools. And
is Ralphie going to triple
this is
dog
what
dare him
happens
to
when you
stick his
still
tongue to
paint
a
the
pole?
garage in my house.
Sorry.
Go make me a sandwich.
The lesson thing is sorry, you're cracking me up.
Well,
on this after-school special, will General Aldo really come to understand who he is and how to excel in school? You're grounded.
When teacher goes to General Aldo's home, he finds out the conditions are more than he knew.
Well, and we can tease about all this, but that's a great setup for Aldo, that we understand that there's some kind of chip on his shoulder, and they establish his character better than what we do with Virgil. Virgil, we had to have people say how smart he is. Aldo, we see his actions, we see his reactions. We know that is a character we're going to have to deal with somewhere.
Well, we have a classroom full of adult gorillas, or at least gorillas, are the equivalent of boys and girls in school, where they get the growth spurt and are suddenly 6 feet tall for a year versus boys. We've got orangutans that are also supposed to be the smart ones, but they're in the same class. They tend to be a little bit more mature as well than the chimps. The chimps all seem small, actual school-age children. We have a teacher who's like giving them kind of just this base lesson. There's not much going on. Ape shall never kill ape, and it's a writing example. So the fact that we have smart orangutans like Virgil outside is just kind of a disconnect in terms of who's actually in this classroom. Right. It's like it's all ages of apes are in this, already segmented by their class, but they're being given remedial lessons. It makes sense for the chimps. For the young chimps. It makes sense for the adult gorillas. It doesn't really make sense for the orangutans to be there for this for this reason.
And also,
they're supposed to exemplify.
And also, just because you have garbage writing doesn't mean that you're not smart, that you can't do other things. You just have garbage writing. I'm left-handed, and my writing is for shit.
So you're basically critiquing the teacher at this particular point for not being a modern educator instead of understanding.
And at one point when I was a kid, I broke my I broke my pinky. No, it was I did something in my hand. I can't remember if I broke my pinky or I slammed my thumb in the car door, but I could not write with my left hand, and I'm left-handed. So I had to do stuff with my right hand, and they were doing cursive tests and stuff like that. And I'm having to do it with my right hand and turn it in, and they're saying, this is horrible. And I'm going, yes, because I'm left-handed. So yeah, I can see how you'd be upset.
Yeah, and I mean, as a kid that suffered under a sister who was like the straight A student, and here comes Todd, and he wasn't, as dedicated to school, I got beat up like that too. And if a teacher spoke to me like, your A is blowing like a tent in the wind, well, fuck you, brother. I mean,
yeah,
it was a really
why
rough,
don't you work with me on it?
Really hard criticism. I mean, it was really.
Yeah, you would hope that teacher would go, okay, Aldo, hang on. You see how your A slants? We want to see that a little more. Of a straight tint. Now that could still be condescending, but wow! No wonder you get the crap beat out of you, brother.
But the teacher is also responding to being criticized by Aldo for not using his title in front of him.
True.
So the teacher is put off because he came up, he crumpled his own paper, right?
Slammed it in his hand.
Slammed his hand, exactly. So they're already kind of at odds with one another, which is why the teacher reacts in the way that he does, which is not what a teacher should do. To jump just a second earlier, what does it say about the role of humans in this particular encampment where the teacher no longer remembers his real name? I mean,
how long has it been?
How long has it been? He's not even really called by his name anymore. Is that what's happening with the other humans in the village?
Are they becoming titles, teacher, worker, slave?
Right. They're no longer, their identities are being lost.
And are they going to expand upon this with the humans at any point in this movie? Are we going to see something where it's that loss of identity and that you're simply a cog in the wheel and that's all you're known for? Is that ever going to be explored? Because if so, it's an interesting idea that the apes are effectively helping to do to the humans what the humans did to the apes originally. That would be an interesting idea.
The apes are helping to regress the humans.
Right.
They themselves are part of the factor in this.
It would take a lot for someone to forget their name. You may not be called that. I think that would be a comment if he had said Abe, if he had simply said, I haven't heard anyone call me that in a long time. Not that he's forgotten it, but I haven't heard anyone call me that. I think that would work better. This idea that you forgot it, don't buy that.
Yeah. Or either that, or you say, I haven't heard that in a long time. I've forgotten that name. There's so many other things I've forgotten. So you start to say that,
you could do that too.
So many things have changed, not just this, or you're hinting to the fact that they're starting to lose memories and maybe devolve or something.
Well, okay, that could be an interesting thing if he said so many things he's forgotten, and then we find out that they don't call the humans that, and that tells that narrative again, if it's what they're doing. But I don't know, that just feels kind of odd that he's forgotten his name. I unfortunately can't forget that I go by my middle name. I'll never forget that. You can call me podcast guy, but I would always remember I go by my middle name. You're not going to take that away from me.
You don't forget your first name because most people don't call you that.
Well, this came up not too long ago. My child's obsessed that my first name's Kevin. I go by Todd. I've always gone by. That's what my parents want. If someone in a room says Kevin, usually my wife has to hit me. I don't think of it as my name, but that's me. I don't forget it. I just don't think of it.
Yeah, if you saw Kevin, if somebody wrote, "Hey Kevin, it was nice to see you last night," and you were at a party with them, you wouldn't go, "Who's Kevin?" You go, "Okay, thanks."
When you sign a document, do you sign it with Kevin? Or do you sign it with Todd?
I usually put either K Todd or Kevin Todd, just depending on what they do. But I have to be very aware of that. I've had numerous times in my life where it's, you go in to sign a legal document, like a mortgage or something like that, and I'll go to put Todd, and then I'm like, oh shit, and I'll look. And the great thing about my shitty handwriting is if I need to sign Kevin in there, all I do is put a K with a straight line behind it. It's just like, it's garbage. But you don't forget those things, that your brain adjusts to it. And to that point, teacher would not forget his name. That might actually be something, if we had a short story about teacher, where he remembers a love of his life, calling him Abe. That would be that story. He doesn't forget it. He's afraid to use it. No one calls him that anymore.
Well, apparently Cornelius is smart enough to remember that his name was Abe at some point. Or it's something that Caesar talks about to Cornelius.
Yeah. So how has it been so long that he's forgotten his name, yet Cornelius remembers it?
But Caesar may be talking...
Though.
Okay. I do want to bring up